Well, for the month of September, the Westpac Melbourne Institute Index of Consumer Sentiment actually lifted by 2% to 106. At that reading, optimists clearly outnumber pessimists. I have to say that given that this survey was taken at a time when Australia's two major cities have been in lockdown and the economy is contracting, this is evidence of very, very resilient sentiment. So why can that be that we've got such a good result? I think it's all about anticipation about the success of the vaccination program. 27% of the respondents have not been vaccinated but are intending to be vaccinated, and their confidence level is up at 121. I believe this is partly due to the expectation of the arrival of more supply of both Pfizer and Moderna. And the young people in particular are embracing this prospect. And confidence amongst people in the 25 to 34 year bracket is up by 6% to a level of 119. On the other hand, the 16% of the respondents who are not intending to get a vaccination or who are uncertain, their confidence levels are down at 90. So there's some fairly clear messages here that as more and more people get vaccinated and people feel more confident about the availability of vaccines, that is providing a strong support to the index. Now bear in mind that this contrasts starkly with a year ago, when the index was around 79 for the country. At that time, really only Victoria was in lockdown, but the country generally was concerned that the problems being faced by Victoria would spill over into other states. And unlike the current situation where people can see an end and a way out of these problems, at that time people were generally quite distraught. This confidence around vaccines and the prospect of more availability and the likelihood that the proportion of people who are not intending to get vaccinated starts to shrink further holds us in good stead that next year we might be able to reach that target that I think will be necessary to underpin really strong growth next year. I'm expecting that next year we can reach a 90% vaccination target, and that'll lay the foundation for growth next year of 7.4%. And whereas Australia was the outstanding performer with regard to managing the virus in 2020 and the laggard in 2021, in 2022, with a 90% vaccination rate, we may well be an outstanding case in the world once again. The survey also gave us an insight into the labour market with an improvement in confidence around jobs by 3.3%. So it's still lower than it was in the first half of the year when the labour market was on fire, but the gap is narrowing. And there's great interest that most of the strength was amongst females, indicating that the concerns that one normally has during a lockdown of females being more affected by the collapse in service industries and the closure of schools, confidence is now starting to build and that we can see the end of these restrictions in sight. The survey also provides insights into the housing market. So the question that is now a good time to buy a dwelling actually improved by 8.8%. But it really only recovered the lost ground we saw last month and is still 26.8% below the peak we saw in November. I think the message that affordability is weighing on households with regard to the housing market still holds very, very true. Indeed, if we look at the states where affordability is most stretched, we see the level of the is now a good time to buy index for New South Wales is 94 and for Victoria is 87. So both those states where affordability is squeezed, we get the low readings. But for the states where affordability is much better in Queensland and Western Australia, we have readings of 105 and 118 respectively. Of course, we also asked the question about the outlook for house prices, and that index remains incredibly resilient, lifting again by 1.4% to be near an 8-year high. So the overall picture from the survey once again points to the fact that affordability is squeezing confidence amongst owner-occupiers and first home buyers, whereas confidence with the outlook for prices is supporting the outlook from investors. So as we go forward into this housing boom, I think without doubt we'll see even more pivoting towards investors and away from owner-occupiers and first home buyers. Thank you.